Well, hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're going to be doing a dust collection modification. Well, if some of you are like me, you have one of these, and what this is a garbage can separator. Now, you buy the lids separately. It has a 90-degree connector on the bottom, etc., etc., hooks up to your dust collection, and what it does is it allows the larger particles to drop into the garbage can, whereas the smaller particles go into your or into your collector. What this does is it makes it so that your collector doesn't fill up so quickly. Now, here's the problem. Mine is much older and it's a much larger lid, and the garbage cans that are available now, at least in my area, just don't fit this darn lid, no matter how you try. The seal never works, and I've replaced the gasket in it. I've put more weather stripping in it, trying to get that seal. I even used like spring clamps around the edge to try to hold it in tight with bungee cords, and it just doesn't do the job. It's always got stuff flying out of it. The particles do drop in, but the amount of dust that comes out from the lack of a seal around the lid is just unacceptable. So today we're going to modify that lid for the garbage can that we have, and we're going to fix that seal. And it all starts with some 3/4 inch MDF. But before we can do that, we need to take some measurements of our separator lid. Well, here we have our separator lid, and you can see where I've added extra weather stripping and that sort of thing. It just hasn't held. It's been a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. But what we're going to start off with is the inside diameter of this lid. So we're going to measure it. It doesn't have to be exact, but you want it to be fairly close. It looks like this one is 20 3/4. So our first step is to take some 3/4 inch MDF, and using our circle cutting jig over at the bandsaw, we want to cut a circle that is 20 3/4 inches in diameter in order to fit it inside the lip of our lid. Well, we've used this jig on the show before. I'll post a link to the build of it down below. And all I've done is I've set the radius to 10 3/8, which will yield a 20 3/4 inch diameter circle. We've marked the center on our MDF, drilled a hole 5/64, which is the same diameter or size of our reference pin, and we're just going to cut our circle as we always have with the circle jig. You now want to take the outer diameter measurement of your garbage can for your separator. And in my case, it is 19 3/8. So we're going to use another circle cutting jig, but this time it's for the router. Well, if you remember, we made this jig using threaded rod, and it utilized the existing accessory ports of our router. This is quite a while back on the show, and I'll post the link to this build as well. I've set it so that the bit will cut on the outside of it to a dimension of 19 3/8, and what I have in the collet of our router is a 3/4 inch diameter straight cutting bit. So what we're going to do is cut a groove all the way around. That'll be 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and we're going to cut it all the way down, leaving about 1/8 of an inch material at the base of it once we're done. Now, cutting MDF is a nasty process. So I can't use my dust collection because I've got it torn apart right now. So you saw what a mess that stuff makes and how it throws it around. Guys, seriously, get the dust mask on, get your hearing protection on. You can hear the airborne dust collection going. That's all I've got right now. So we're gonna clear the air a bit and then we'll come back and have a look at this project. But don't forget, protect your lungs, guys. You need them for life, right? Well, this is great and everything, and the groove is really nice. I've checked it, you know, all the measurements are right. However, you're not going to get this in your separator lid, and the reason being is you have these 90-degree bends here, as well as the reinforcing ribs of our lid. I don't know if yours is the same, but if it is, you're going to have to compensate for that. And what we're going to do is I've taken some measurements. We're going to come in 1 inch from the inner edge of our routed groove, and we're going to set our circle cutting jig again. This time, however, we're going to cut right through it, and that will provide us at the end with a ring that we can install into our dust collector lid. And with that, our ring should be cut. So I'm just going to see if I can separate it here. We'll separate that center section. Get that out of there. And this is our new ring. Now, truth be told, before I cut this ring out, I tested it on my garbage can, and oddly enough, the garbage can is not the same dimensions all the way around. I guess it's been misshapen over the years. But I had to actually increase the width of this on the inside by 1/16 of an inch, if you can believe it. But that's okay. That jig does a great job of cutting that without any issues whatsoever. So now that we have this ring cut, the first thing you want to do is you want to just test it once again on your garbage can of your separator, and then we're going to take it to the lid of our separator. And we'll just test fit this to make sure that it fits nicely in our lid, and it's pretty much right on the money here. The next thing that I want to do is I want to get rid of this original seal. So I'm just going to get a little putty knife and scrape around. I don't need it perfectly clean, but I want to get the majority of this off. Well, I've tried to get it off, and the seal is proving to be a little tougher than what I thought. So I've just put some mineral spirits here into this bottle, and I'm going to squeeze it onto this sponge. I'm hoping that it's going to dissolve the adhesive that's holding this down. So I'm going to let this soak in. I'm going to let it sit there for a bit, and once it's had a chance to do its hopeful magic, we'll peel this seal off. Well, that gasket proved a little tougher than what I thought, but that's okay. The mineral spirits worked and we got the majority of it off. Still a little bit of adhesive here from the old gasket. I'm not too concerned about it. At least this will sit flush in here now. And all I'm going to do is around the outer perimeter, right on the edge here, we're going to put 4 1/2" by number 8 screws from the bottom to screw this into place. And with that ring securely screwed in there, there's only one more thing to do with this. And we still need a seal. We still need something to allow the lip of the garbage can to seal in here. And for that, we've got some 3/4 inch wide by 3/8 inch thick simple foam weather stripping. And all we're going to do is, using this foam adhesive back weather stripping, we're just going to apply it all the way inside our groove. Now this weather stripping that I'm using is labeled as, or billed as, a foam weather stripping, but it kind of has a rubbery consistency to it, so it'll really give us a good seal around that garbage can. When you get to the end, you really want to take your time to get a good seal here. Make sure they mate, because if they don't, you're going to give the dust an opportunity to find an escape route. So cut it a little outside of what you need, and then sneak up on your measurement to have it so that it fits nice and flush. No sneaking needed. I fluked it on the first cut. That's awesome. All right, so there's really nothing more to do here other than to take this over to your garbage can, and we will see how it fits on the lip of it. So all we're going to do is flip this over and sit it on our garbage can lid. And that is a much better seal. I mean, there's no chance for it not to align with our gasket the way the other one was. So there's nothing left to do here really other than fire it up and see if it still leaks. And there you have it. A dust collection modification. Guys, I don't even know what you would call this other than an irritation that's been eating at me for quite some time of how I could never get a proper seal on the dust collection separator. The problem is that there's so many garbage cans on the market and one large universal lid that I have, so getting the proper size can is next to impossible. But I think I've come up with a half-decent solution here that will solve the problem of the leaks. I'm still going to use that bungee cord over the top, and the only reason for that is because the seal is good enough that when I use the thickness planer, it has a motor that blows the dust out through the 4-inch port. Now that actually lifts the lid just a little bit. And before you think, well, maybe that was your problem the whole time, no, because it worked with the table saw. It didn't matter what I used the collector for. So guys, this is something you may want to consider if your shop is one of those ones where you use one of these garbage can collectors, or separators rather. Getting a good seal on there does several things. Number one, it keeps the larger particles in your separator instead of in your collector, making it that you have to change the bag or empty the bag less, whatever method you use. It also makes it so that less dust is getting in the air of your shop. If you have a leak in your separator around the top ring, that dust comes out into the air. And where does it go? Well, it could go into your airborne collector if you have one, but unless you're wearing a respirator or a dust mask at all times, it's going in here. So that extra seal will go a long way to keeping the dust out of the air and where it belongs, in the collector and in the separator. So don't discount this project as one of those ones that, oh, big deal. This is an important project that you may want to utilize in your shop. Guys, I really want to thank you for tuning in with me this week. I toyed whether or not to put this on the Woodworking show or today on the Tuesday show, and I thought, you know what, this isn't really woodworking, but it is working, and it kind of toyed around. Doesn't matter. As long as I brought it to you guys and you enjoyed it, that's the important part. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week, and I hope you're going to join me next week when I bring you yet another Alternative Tuesdays. Okay. Get out your shop vac now and get all this MDF crap off your tools. I'm going to be vacuuming for an hour. An hour? Is that it? Well, maybe 2 hours. Ugh, dust.